Overnight, an FDA advisory panel voting overwhelmingly 20-0 in favor of recommending the Moderna vaccine be authorized for use in Americans 18 and older. Studies show the Moderna vaccine to be 94.1% effective in preventing symptomatic disease.
It looks like we have a favorable vote.
Operation Warp Speed says it's ready to ship 6 million doses throughout the U.S. by the end of next week. Unlike Pfizer's vaccine, Moderna's doesn't require special freezers, making it easier to distribute to smaller and remote communities. Like the Pfizer vaccine, Moderna says its volunteers experience common side effects like temporary fever, headache, and fatigue. The study showing the Moderna vaccine is 94% effective in preventing symptomatic disease, and early evidence also suggests the vaccine reduced asymptomatic infection in volunteers and could stop the spread of the virus.
Moderna certainly will be available soon, have the same level of efficacy, the same safety profile, and virtually everything the same about them. So it wouldn't make much difference which of those you take.
And tonight, a new development with the Pfizer vaccine and allergic reactions. The FDA now investigating after 2 people in Alaska had rare allergic reactions to Pfizer's vaccine. One woman had to be treated and hospitalized. As for more common side effects like the Pfizer vaccine, Moderna volunteers experienced minor symptoms like fever, headache, and fatigue.
My arm was sore the next day both times, but besides that, I personally didn't have any other noticeable side effects.
The world watched when Jennifer Haller became the first trial volunteer in the U.S. 9 months ago, injected with the Moderna vaccine.
I wasn't afraid because I trust science.
Nearly 6 million doses of the Moderna vaccine are ready to ship immediately and don't require special freezers like Pfizer's, making it easier to reach rural areas.
This is hope. This is
double dose of hope.
I'm having trouble going even more than a few minutes today without crying.
Doctors at Cleveland's Metro Health Hospital confirmed tonight they are able to vaccinate hundreds more people after discovering they can extract 6 doses of the Pfizer vaccine from a single vial rather than the expected 5.
The manufacturers, they wanted to make sure that each dose was full and there was room for error.
Also tonight, the Moderna vaccine may soon become a second weapon against COVID-19. With these new developments, the expectation is that 20 million Americans could receive their first shot by the end of the year. CBS News has learned that at least 7 states are receiving fewer doses of the Pfizer vaccine next week than anticipated.
And we're working with Pfizer, but they're going to need help from us on their manufacturing.
But in a statement, Pfizer disputes that, saying they're not having any production issues. Adding, quote, "We have millions more doses sitting in our warehouse and have not received any shipment instructions for additional doses."
Here was Governor J.B. Pritzker in Illinois today, asked about it by reporters with honestly no way to explain what's happening here.
Have you learned anything more? I know the folks at Pfizer are saying it's not on their end. Anything new?
They have not provided us with any information, federal government. We get to see what the order book can look like for us for the coming week, and they haven't given us any explanation of why those numbers are smaller than they were before.
But in state after state, visible signs of excitement and relief as more frontline workers receive the first dose of that vital vaccine.
I haven't seen my parents in a year.
A finish line finally in sight in the race to vaccinate.
This is hope. This is, I get to hug my mom and my dad, so I'm happy.
Let's get right to it. Are you ready? Just so everybody at home knows, we're going to have Nurse Allison come out now. She'll administer the vaccine.
Absolutely.
And while she's doing that, Allison, you can come on in.
Allison, come on over.
Can you hear me, Allison? Oh, she can't hear me, so she's just going to do what she has to do. Dr. Fagley, I don't know if you can talk and get a shot at the same time, but if you can, I couldn't.
I can't.
I know, there's no way. I'd close my eyes and wince. So the other one of you guys can.
I'll do my best.
Okay, either one of you can answer this question. You've got those cowboy boots on. This fellow Kansan noticed that. Tell us about the logistics here. What can people expect who are in line? Oh, my gosh, I'm talking to you and I feel bad that you're getting a shot.
Squirm.
You want me to ask you? Are you sure? Okay.
He's a pro.
All
He can
right.
handle it.
So for the people who are getting this Pfizer vaccine, what can they expect?
Well, we're expecting that it'll probably be something similar to the flu shot. There'll be a little bit of local discomfort, just like anytime you get any vaccine. Some folks may have symptoms, some folks may not. So we're expecting to, feel like we have a little bit of a reaction to just about any other type of shot.
This is just wild. This is the COVID vaccine.
I wish you could
this
see
is the vaccine we've been waiting for since the beginning.
Big deal.
I'm smiling as big as I'm smiling as big as I can under my mask, but it's hard to tell.
Hey, Dr. Gupta, you and I have talked about this a number of times, especially since word of a vaccine started. For folks who are watching or listening, who might be scared or skeptical, what's your message to them as you get ready to get your vaccine as well? As you get ready to get your vaccine as well?
Craig, I'm really glad you asked that. The first message is similar to what I said up front, which is to say that we know this vaccine is safe and effective. We know that it's particularly safe in preventing severe pneumonia from COVID-19, meaning you're not going to see docs like Dr. Fagley and I in an ICU if you get the vaccine. So that's first and foremost. I think we need to keep that top of mind, that this is going to save people's lives, this vaccine. We also know it's safe, that there's, at worst, mild side effects, injection site soreness potentially, maybe a low-grade temperature, a headache, but those go away within 24 hours, so that's pretty clear as well. And lastly, I will say is, for those who might have severe allergic reactions, I know there's been a lot of questions about that, severe allergic reactions, should you get the vaccine? What's clear is that if you have that profile, talk to your clinical provider, talk to them about what types of allergic reactions you've had in the past, and you're likely still going to be just fine if you get the vaccine in a monitored setting. So it's going to be really important for all of us to understand that this vaccine, Craig, is the only way out of this pandemic. It's broadly safe. We're learning more, as Dr. Fagley just mentioned, we're learning more about how long immunity lasts. How long are we protected after this 2-dose regimen? And that's number one. And then number two, we're going to learn, does this vaccine protect against severe pneumonia? Does it also, we already know that, does it also protect against transmission? That's the key question here. Does this vaccine protect against transmission? Because a vaccine can protect against severe illness leading to the ICU, but it can also potentially still allow for infection where people are unwittingly transmitting the virus. We're going to have clarity on that question, guys, in the next 2 to 4 weeks, and I think that's going to be really important for the American people.
Wow.
That's great. Dr. Gupta, Dr. Fagley, a big thanks to both of you, and also Nurse Allison as well, who has a tremendous bedside manner. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Not just for today, but for all you've done from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Really terrific.
Hope you're feeling some hope.
And this is hope. This is
I received the vaccine about 36 hours ago, thereabouts. I had upper arm soreness in my left arm for about 24 hours. I feel perfectly fine. I didn't have a headache or a mild fever, which were cited in some of these studies from Moderna and Pfizer. I feel great. And so let me be clear to all your viewers out there. This vaccine will save lives. It will keep you and your loved ones out of the ICU. I know there's concern, there's anxiety about the vaccine, the process, which was very science-focused, it was rigorous, and it's a high-quality vaccine. It will save your life if you were unfortunately exposed to and infected with COVID-19 and had an adverse outcome. It will prevent that. It will prevent you from seeing me in the ICU. We can manage unexpected allergic reactions if they were to happen. I know there's anxiety about some of these reports out of Alaska and England. We will be able to manage those very easily. That is something that we know how to treat readily. What we do not know how to treat readily, or as easily rather, is COVID-19 in the ICU. It's unexpected, it's long, it's difficult, and it kills a lot of people, Brian. So, and that's what we're seeing right now. So please get the vaccine when your turns when you're up for the vaccine.
Dr. Gupta, let me just start with you. First and foremost, the big question we're all wondering, how are you feeling today? You look good. Any side effects?
Good morning, Craig. Thanks for having me back. No, I'm still a little sore in my left upper arm where I got that shot from Nurse Allison, but other than that, I feel great. I had any experience of fever, low-grade fevers we hear may be common. A headache might be common that resolves quickly. None of those. So I'm feeling great.
Good news. Glad to hear that. As you know, on Wednesday, it was reported, though, that a healthcare worker in Alaska had a bit of a serious allergic reaction to the Pfizer vaccine, needed to be hospitalized even. What do you say to those Americans who will use that as a reason, as justification not to get vaccinated?
Well, Craig, after I got vaccinated yesterday, I actually had a few meetings with patients that get their care at community health centers across the country, and I was hearing the same thing: vaccine hesitancy. And one of the responses there is, this vaccine will save lives. It will keep people out, Americans out of ICUs across the country. That is clear. There are safety concerns on these allergic responses. In the case of this Alaska health worker, it was apparently unexpected. We can manage that. We understand that that's causing some degree of anxiety, but that is manageable, and that's why you're seeing the CDC recommend that any vaccination drive should have medications on hand to deal with allergic responses, whether they might be expected or unexpected. But Craig, to be clear, that is readily treatable, even if it's if someone doesn't have a history of it and just presents itself during the vaccination process. There's a 15-minute observation period after you get vaccinated. The process works. That's when these reactions were discovered amongst these workers in Alaska. So this process works, but this vaccine saves lives, Craig. No doubt about it. 3,600 Americans lost their lives just yesterday. We are in the midst of an out-of-control pandemic. This is our way out of it.
This is hope. This is
So we still are in a serious situation, which tells us that as we are proceeding with the rollout of the vaccine, we absolutely have to adhere to the public health measures that we're talking about all the time: the wearing of masks, the physical distancing, the avoiding crowds in congregate settings. We can't just say, well, there's vaccine on the horizon, so let's just forget about everything else. We're in a difficult situation, so we've got to do both. We've got to proceed with the rollout of the vaccine, but we've got to make sure we stay with the public health measure.
We are both going to get this shot in our left arm because we are right-handed, so
That's
they do
right.
the non-dominant arm.
My friends know I'm afraid of needles.
Is that
You know,
right?
Yeah, I don't like needles. I don't like needles.
You're a doctor.
This right here. Yeah, I am a doctor. I'm a surgeon too. That's
You
the sad
prescribe
thing.
a lot of needles and scalpels, but you don't like getting them
It's
yourself.
different when you're driving the needle. It's a lot different when you're driving the needle.
All right.
I shall relax.
Big
and
moment. I gotta
breathe
just say
through
it's
it.
a.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's it? Oh, piece of cake. Oh. All right. Oh, no, seriously.
You're afraid
seriously.
of needles. That wasn't so bad.
No. She's good. Thank you.
Anytime.
All righty. Okay, she has a new job. All right. That's it.
You know, it really does strike me that it's such an amazing scientific feat.
Oh, my goodness.
And yet it's such a mundane act.
Right.
in the
Yeah.
end,
No.
Right? It's a,
Yeah. I mean, that was a piece of cake.
You ready?
I am ready.
All
Right,
right.
Catherine, thank you. I really feel good about today.
Yeah,
I have to
I
tell
feel
you.
good. We're making progress to be able to do this at Grady, as we call it, the Grady. You
The
know,
Grady.
having trained here, it has been one of the highlights of my career to be able to come back here and be a part of this continued advancement at Grady. So I'm really excited to do this.
I, by the way, as a surgeon, I'm also a little bit afraid of needles.
Yeah, and that's scary. Yeah, you're not wincing at all.
Is it Ed?
It's done.
It's done. You are really good.
Thank
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
Thank you very much.
Anytime.
All
Do you get
right.
thanked a lot for jabbing
I
somebody?
do, actually.
Yeah. I
Especially
mean, now
in the last couple
seriously.
days.
Thank you very much, Mary Catherine.
Very welcome.
You got any words?
I mean, you know what? I was, as I think about this, I think about how honored I am, right?
How soon do you think we'll see shots in the arm?
I would anticipate, Savannah, that we likely will see shots in the arm by the very early part of next week. I would hope Monday or Tuesday, but, we'll just have to wait to see for the final decision. But very soon, literally within a few days.
President Pence is going to be vaccinated a little later this morning. Speaker Pelosi, Senator Mitch McConnell are going to get the vaccine, which raises the question, when might you get the vaccine? I know a lot of folks will feel better if they see you do it.
I'm ready to go, Savannah. We're waiting for the supply to come in to the NIH. We haven't got our supply yet. I hope it's coming in the next couple of days. If it does, I'm going to get vaccinated as soon as I can. I hope that's going to be within the next few days to the early part of next week.
Well, forgive me, you're turning 80 on Christmas Eve, so maybe that will be your birthday present. Dr. Fauci, happy birthday, Merry Christmas. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Savannah. Good to be with you.
This week, 2.9 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine have been allocated, and next week, 2 million more doses will be distributed across America. And as you all know, yesterday, the FDA advisory panel recommended approval of the Moderna vaccine, and when it is approved, we expect later today we'll be in a position to ship 5.9 million doses of vaccines all across the country next week. In fact, under Operation Warp Speed, we are poised to have vaccine for 20 million Americans before the end of December. It is truly a medical miracle. As the Christmas holiday approaches, this is always a season of hope. We gather here today at the end of a historic week to affirm to the American people that hope is on the way. And Karen and I were more than happy to step forward before this week was out, to take the safe and effective coronavirus vaccine.
This is hope. This is...
Make no mistake about it, it's a medical miracle.
Please get vaccinated. And I'm here as one of the first responders, one of the first people that were going to get vaccinated, because I need to continue taking care of my community, of you.
For those of you concerned about side effects, here's what you can expect.
Normally, what people will have is minor symptoms of body aches, especially with a second vaccination. And it's going to be body aches. More than anything else, that's what people have, body aches and a headache.
And the good news with the Moderna vaccine is that it does not require the ultra cold storage like the Pfizer one does. It also has a longer shelf life. The downside is it has a slightly higher rate of less serious side effects.
So although we're encouraged by now having our vaccine coming out, in fact, I got my vaccine this morning. We're not out of the woods yet. And so the advice of your last guest about continuing to wear masks, continuing to distance remains very important. There I am getting my injection, and it actually did not hurt very much at all.
We're looking at it, yeah. Tell us more about your experience. And I'm into the glasses you wore as well.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, so it actually didn't hurt very much at all. I think my flu vaccine hurt worse. I've checked with my colleagues. About 7 or 8 received their vaccine yesterday. Of course, we can't all get it on the same day because some of us will have symptoms and we all need to be at work after our vaccination. But so far, so good. My arm's only a little bit sore.
That is wonderful to hear. You are not the first doctor to tell us that the flu shot actually hurt more. So that is great news. Glad to hear that you're doing well.
If you want to get vaccinated, I certainly think you should have the right.
But don't look for Karen Kane at the pharmacy when the COVID-19 vaccine becomes available. Kane is an anti-vaxxer. Her daughter Lauren lived with daily debilitating seizures for 15 years after receiving a bad DPT vaccine as a newborn.
It was full of mercury. The vaccine destroyed her brain.
Kane will never get what she really wants, her daughter healthy and back in her arms. But through the Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, or VICP, she did get reimbursed for medical bills and money to stay home and care for her daughter. The process took years.
I was treated horribly in vaccine court. Horribly.
But at least Kane got to go to court, and if denied, she could appeal. Anyone injured by the COVID vaccine won't have those opportunities. That's because the Department of Health and Human Services has decided to use a different program.
I'm extremely concerned about the countermeasures program.
The Countermeasures Injury Compensation Program was created to cover damage caused by treatments for pandemics and security threats such as H1N1 and Ebola. In the past decade, 446 people filed claims with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. 29 received compensation.
Bonjour tout le monde. Good afternoon.
Good morning, everyone.
Today I
Good
would
afternoon.
like to mention the seminal moments that have passed and the important path that lies ahead. In the last 2 weeks, Canada has aggressively pursued, negotiated, received, and administered early doses of the very first COVID-19 vaccine in this country. We are on track to receive approximately 212,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine early next week, with a subsequent delivery during the following week for a total of 255,000 doses this month. As I have said from the very beginning, we are in constant contact with our suppliers, and these increased numbers reflect our negotiations. In addition, as the Prime Minister has just announced, we have also secured regular weekly deliveries of approximately 125,000 Pfizer-BioNTech doses per week, starting in January, for a total of 500,000 in January alone. We are on track to receive the balance of the Pfizer 4 million doses in Q1, as previously mentioned.
Okay, but what about the fact, is it really safe and is it really effective? Or is this something the government is trying to put over on us? Is this something the companies want to take advantage of? Well, let's take a look at what's happened over the past few months. We've had clinical trials, and thanks to the volunteers in that trial, in tens of thousands who have put themselves on the line to prove to the country and the world that these are safe and effective products. It is really bittersweet. The bitterness is the fact of what the Vice President mentioned. We still are in the middle of a very difficult situation with record numbers of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. But the sweetness is the light at the end of the tunnel, which I can tell you, as we get into January, February, March, and April, that light is going to get brighter and brighter. And the bitterness is going to be replaced by the sweetness. And we all hope, and I think this is doable, that by the time we get to several months into this year, we will have enough people protected that we can start thinking seriously about the return to normality.
And that's up to all of us to step forward and get vaccinated.